All right. Hi, hello. Today, we are doing another celebrity deep dive, and I think it's going to be a fun one. We do like to have fun around here. This video was originally going to be about a different celebrity. I was already deep into the research and the script writing process, but that person announced that they have a huge project coming out at the end of this month. And it's the kind of thing where I can't omit it from the deep dive. So I will just make a video after everyone else has already made a video on that person, but hey, it'll still be good. But let's not undermine the subject of today's video because I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I have seen more out of context interview clips of Debby Ryan than any other celebrity. Demi Lovato may be a close second, but when a Debby Ryan interview shows up on my TikTok For You page, I can't look away.
This happened the other day, throwing things and catching them in my mouth. My friend was trying to do it, was can you do it? And I was oh. And it was awesome. I was a beast and I was very proud of myself.
And so I thought, why not learn all that there is to know about Debby Ryan? Because you can't watch clips of her and say that you're not intrigued. She is objectively an intriguing person. So let's get into it. Don't worry, this is not an ad read. It's just shameless self-promo. I have been streaming on Twitch Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that means if you're watching this the day it comes out, I'm going to be live tonight. So if you want to, you can click the link in my description, follow me, hang out with us, or don't. But I'd like you to. Anyways, back to the video. Debby Ryan was born on May 13th, 1993 in Huntsville, Alabama to John and Missy Ryan and grew up with her older brother, Chase. Unlike a lot of my other deep dives, we don't know a ton about Debbie's parents, and we don't know much about her early life. Her parents weren't celebrities. She wasn't immediately into commercials and acting. She didn't get into acting until she was around 12 or 13 years old. So to some extent, Debbie did have a normal childhood that is not typical of the subjects of these deep dives. But one interesting thing is when Debbie is 7 years old, her family moves to Germany. Her family wasn't in the military. Her dad worked with the Department of Defense, but they did not live on an American base. She just lived in a German neighborhood with other German people and went to a German public school, which probably doesn't sound that wild to anyone who's not an American. Most people don't have a choice about immersing themselves and assimilating to a foreign culture that they are living in when they move to a foreign country. But in my experience, at least, it is very normalized for military and government families abroad to stick to an American bubble on an American military base and not meaningfully immerse yourself in that foreign country, even though Americans have built a military presence in that region. Nothing to unpack there. But they weren't totally separated from Americans. They did live near an American military base, specifically the Wiesbaden base, which I think is one of only 2 bases in Germany now. There were definitely more when she was there, though. She lived in a town near the base called Oberjosbach. And if you're wondering why I care so much about these specific towns that she was living in, my dad also worked for the government, and we also lived near the Wiesbaden base for 3 years. Less than 30 miles away from where she lived. Truly, this is only interesting to me, but it's my channel, damn it, you have to put up with it. When she is 10 years old, she moves back to America, this time to Texas, where her parents are originally from. Where in Texas does she move to? Keller, a suburb of Fort Worth, Texas. You want to know who else lived in a suburb of Fort Worth, Texas, roughly 30 miles from where she lived? Me. Actually, around the same time that she moved there, I left. We were like Gatsby and Daisy, looking out across different sides of the Grapevine Lake. Geographic fun facts aside, this is when Debbie and her brother began going to American schools for the first time, right when Debbie is starting middle school. Can't think of a better time. According to Debbie, even though she was excited to go to school, she was a middle schooler, and the adjustment was not as easy as she thought it was going to be. Debbie always had friends, but she's also described herself many times as just a little nerd. She was on the chess team. She was the school mascot, Willie the Wildcat. And apparently the school had Disney cast member rules where she couldn't say that she was Willie the Wildcat. She had to say that she was Willie's handler Because, if you knew that Debby Ryan was the one doing the worm out on the football field, I guess it might ruin the illusion for you. It is also during this time that Debby starts asking her parents if she can audition for TV and movie roles. Debby had done local theater on the military base when she was younger, and her mom was a director for a lot of the local plays at the schools nearby. So Debby always had an interest in theater, the way a lot of kids do. But obviously not every child who has an interest in theater or says that they want to be on TV actually ends up auditioning for roles. Because most people have parents who say, no, be a child instead, please. According to Debby, that's how her parents were too, at least initially. Debby would ask her parents if she could start auditioning for roles, and her parents would do the parent thing where they wouldn't say no, but they're not gonna go out of their way to actually get her an agent. They just hope that she'll forget about it, move on to her next interest, and grow out of it. But one fateful day, Debby's mom walks in on Debby praying, and I will read this quote from Debby describing what she was praying about. When I was 12 years old, I prayed for boobs and an agent, and in 4 months, I went from a size AA to a CC, and also got an agent. So there is a God. Checkmate, atheists. So Debby's parents decide to answer her prayers and start actively looking around for an agent and local auditions for her to try out. She starts getting small gigs at the mall, Six Flags, but her first big acting job is on Barney. What is with the Barney to Disney star pipeline? It's so specific. But because she's a little bit older, she plays teenage girl whose dog has gotten lost in a ravine. But Barney and his friends save her dog and then sing this little ditty about heroes.
I like the firehouse because it's full of heroes.
It sure is. There's a fire who will be there to come to your rescue.
A firefighter.
On the street who is always there to protect you.
A police officer.
For some reason, her name on the credits is Deborah Pop, and I have no explanation for that. Maybe that was a stage name that didn't take off. I mean, who knows, truly. She was also in a commercial for just the most quintessential piece of 2000s culture, the iDog.
Now you can get yourself amped.
The new iDog amp.
Bring the iDog back. The world has not been the same without him. Now, Debby is around 13, 14 years old when she finally tries out for Sweet Life on Deck. According to Debby, she does her open casting call and then hears absolutely nothing for more than 6 months. She just totally forgets about it. Then, her and 2 other girls are flown out for a callback in LA, and just like that, Debby is offered the role. She's told filming is going to start in a couple weeks, and her and her family need to drop everything, move to LA, all at just 14 years old. There's also a sort of Mandela effect around Debby's casting on the show. A lot of people seem to remember that Debby was cast on the show because she won a contest run by Radio Disney. And here on this channel, we know all too well how hard it is to get straight answers about a contest where the Sprouse twins are involved. I couldn't find any official records of this Radio Disney contest happening, but I don't think it's totally out of the question that Disney promoted their open casting calls. That's the thing companies do all the time. They did a similar thing with the new Star Wars movies where, since Disney was committed to casting unknowns for the lead roles, they allowed video submissions to audition for the roles of Finn and Rey. But I don't think they discovered John Boyega or Daisy Ridley that way. Those two weren't well known by any means, but they had an agent. They had been in projects before. And it's the same here. Debby had an agent who could contact someone at Disney. She had experience in other roles. It wasn't totally out of the blue that she got this role. Disney also released this intro video of Debby before the Sweet Life on Deck premiered, and I can see how as a kid, if you watch this, you might think that Debby was just pulled from nowhere and won a contest.
I've been watching The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on Disney Channel, and the chance for me to be on the sequel was just incredible.
Hello? Hey, Debby, it's Jennifer.
Hi.
So guess what? You have booked the role of Bailey on Sweet Life on Deck.
Oh my word, are you for real? Yeah. Hi, Grandma, it's Debby. I want to be on Disney Channel. My life just changed today.
In 2008, Debby makes her Disney debut on the Sweet Life on Deck as Bailey Pickett. Bailey Marie Pickett. Her nicknames are Bailey Bunny, Little Hayball, Bailey Pickle, Cowboy Girl, and Bailey Whaley. Her alter ego is Naomi Wyoming. Is that her drag persona? I don't remember that episode. Talents, academics. Strengths, academics. Likes, Cody, her friends, her family, academics. Sports. Dislikes, Moose telling her what to do. London making fun of her. I mean, that sounds valid. Her and the Spouse brothers actually became very close friends while they were on set, you know, despite Cole having a dark, twisted mind whom no one could understand.
Ooh, I was a fucking asshole on Disney, man.
That means that Debbie was friends with them when these sweepstakes happened. She knows the truth. You can see it in her eyes. But Sweet Life on Deck is not the only thing she's doing during this time. During the off-season, she filmed some classics like 16 Wishes. I definitely remember watching this as a cute movie. She was also in the film What If, which is a Pureflix film. For those of you who don't know what Pureflix is, it is like Christian Netflix, where every film is seemingly the most bottom of the barrel Hallmark movie you could find, and also the God Is Not Dead series that just really went off the rails after the first one, apparently. I was, however, very disappointed to see that there is absolutely no coverage of this movie online. How have the commentary channels not already eaten this movie up? I was hoping I could find the full thing like on YouTube or something, but I couldn't find that anywhere either, and I wasn't gonna sign up for Pureflix just for this one movie in this video, like this isn't what it's about. But I think if you read the plot description, you get the gist. Greedy business executive Ben Walker leaves his college girlfriend and his dreams of being a good Christian pastor for a business opportunity and a harlot wife when he is visited by Mike, an angel.
Who are you? I'm an angel sent here to help you straighten out your life.
Okay.
Close your eyes, count backwards from 100.
No.
Fine. All right, well, have it your way.
Who gives a glimpse of what his life would have been like if it had gone according to plan. And in this alternate reality, Debby Ryan is one of his good Christian children. I do have to say, if a random guy named Mike showed me an alternate universe where Debby Ryan was my child, I might be convinced. Take notes, God. And guys named Mike. I've also noticed that a lot of Pureflix content weirdly seems to involve angels who are portrayed by unassuming middle-aged men. And I do think that is a very funny interpretation of angels.
I'm a businesswoman, not a baby woman.
Taxi!
I gotta go to work.
You just had a baby 12 hours ago, okay? You can't just leave us.
So sorry, I'll be really quick.
I'm an angel.
Excuse me?
There's some divine intervention happening right now.
I can't decide if the biblical description or that is scarier. I also really like the Rotten Tomatoes page for this movie because for whatever reason, the promo pictures are just 4 different resolution versions of the same picture of Kevin Sorbo staring at a car. Also, apparently, if I like this movie, I'll also like Swinging with the Finkles. Another fun thing Debbie is in is The Haunting Hour by R.L. Stine, which is basically the new version of Goosebumps meets American Horror Story. Debbie gives us some very solid Debby Ryan face in this episode, and something about her styling in this particular show made me realize that Debby Ryan looks like if an American Girl doll was a real person. The episode also has this song.
Red nails.
Oh my god, I love this song.
She's reckless with the heart.
And that is Debby Ryan singing her own song, Made of Matches. I never watched this show growing up, I don't think, but now I might binge the entire series because you just have to see the ending of this episode.
Video.
Just stop it! Get away from me! What did you do to her?
Let me out!
Respect my space.
Let me out!
Much better, yes.
Let me out! Stop!
It worked. Grandma B did it.
With our help, yes?
Stephanie Howard will never mess with me. Again.
Hey!
In 2011, The Sweet Life on Deck is about to wrap up when Debbie is approached by Pamela Elves? I don't know. One of the showrunners for Sweet Life on Deck, and Pamela says, hey, we want more Debby Ryan. How about you and I go to the Disney execs and pitch a new show with you as a lead? And that is how we got Jessie. I had sort of aged out of watching Disney shows by the time Jessie started or was popular, so maybe that's why I missed this, but I did not know, one, how involved Debby Ryan was in the making and production of this show, and two, just how overwhelmingly successful it was. When Debbie and Pamela went to the Disney execs and pitched their idea for the show, Disney just said, okay, cool, you've got a season, done, which had never been done before. Normally you make a pilot, you workshop stuff, but no, they were just given total freedom. And even though Debbie herself was not a showrunner, she was very involved in the development of her character, Jessie, casting her co-stars, writing and singing the theme song, and later becoming a director of multiple episodes and a permanent producer on the show. Debbie, at just 20 years old, became the youngest female director on the Disney Channel, the youngest female director of episodic TV, and was the youngest woman in the multi-cam community at the Directors Guild of America. And on top of all of that, the show beat Sweet Life on Deck for the biggest Disney Channel premiere ever, with over 4 million views, and went on for 4 seasons as one of the most successful Disney shows of all time. I mean, isn't that crazy? Debbie said that she wanted to make history, and goddammit, she did.
My one thing was I went into the Disney Channel building and I sat down with the president of Disney Channel and I said, I want to make history. And that's what this is.
Okay, so maybe it's time that we talk about all of the Debby Ryan interviews. First of all, in that particular interview, she is talking about how Jessie was the first Disney show to have a main character get married on screen, which, you know, of all of the ways that the show made history, seems kind of small. But give Debbie some respect. She did make history.
And that's what this is.
Now, in recent years, a lot of random clips of Debby Ryan interviews, like this one, have resurfaced. And, you know, some people suggest that Debbie is on substances.
Can you do it? And I was like, oh. And it was awesome. I was a beast, and I was very proud of myself.
Some just think that Debbie is a very strange person. But to me, I think Debbie is just kind of awkward, kind of a nerd, as she said before, and also just like kind of a troll. I feel like, especially in the early days of social media, when you would have hundreds of interviews, you might get bored hearing the same question all the time. So you make up some stuff, you act a little weird, because surely no one 10 years down the road is going to care about this random interview that you did. I also feel like a lot of times when people see clips of a woman saying something goofy online, the instinct is to assume that that person is stupid or that they're not in on a joke, when they're just being funny. They're making the joke. Or maybe Debby Ryan just has kind of a weird demeanor, and as someone else with a weird demeanor who also lived in Germany and Texas and is the same person as Debby Ryan, I have to defend her. But I would also be doing you a disservice if I didn't show you some of my favorite Debby Ryan interview clips with no context, so here we go. Here's what you've all been waiting for.
Oh my god, are you always on the go and like doing spontaneous things?
It scares me to be still. It's terrifying, yeah. I kind of live in like a parallel universe a little bit, which has nothing to do with the show, but as well as the show. Yeah.
Good. We're at the top of the Empire State Building. I hope you're not afraid of heights.
I'm not afraid of heights. I love like roller coasters and things like that.
Here's another thing people don't know about me is that I have a very intense phobia of Cheez-Its.
The beams are down here. Are you freaking out?
Oh my god, look at his jacket.
Oh my
so
gosh.
much swag on that kid. He like bleeds swag.
What are you considering saying? Like, I'm trying to think of what I'll say.
I would say, make me one less lonely girl. Can I say that?
You can say it right here.
Can I really say that? Yeah. Justin, if you can hear me. Justin, you're right there. Make me one less lonely girl.
What does never say never mean to you, Justin?
It means that, hello,
hey,
how are you? Nice to meet you. Have I met you before?
Good to meet you. I don't know.
Debby Ryan, Disney.
I want to say that
I'm just listening now.
Everything is in your power, and you got to work hard, and yeah, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Right?
You got it.
One last question. What is your obsession right now? It could be anything.
strawberry chapstick.
In this interview clip, she wore a preppy gangster costume to a children's AIDS event, as if those children hadn't been through enough. And the fun doesn't stop there, because next, of course, we have to talk about Radio Rebel. Radio Rebel is a 2012 DCOM which is not on Disney+. A disservice to us all, but it is on Amazon Prime, so you should all watch it to see some peak 2012 fashion and, of course, that face. Fun fact, this movie also featured a music video of We Got the Beat, covered by none other than Debby Ryan. And this is the first project Debby works on as a producer, with her brother and their new production company, Shadowborn Productions. I love that name because it reminds me of my username on this online wolf game I played as a child, Moonlight Fire. No one steal that? I mean, you can't, I already registered it. Does anyone know the name of this online wolf game, or that it truly exists? Because that is all of the details I can remember. But I swear, I was Moonlight Fire somewhere. Debby also made another original song released on the Radio Rebel soundtrack called We Ended Right, co-written by Chad Hively and her brother Chase Ryan. In 2013, Debby starts dating Josh Dunn of 21 Pilots fame. And Debby, during this era, is truly the embodiment of a YN Tumblr protagonist. And why did Tumblr not give Debby Ryan the Halsey treatment? Halsey even lived with Debby Ryan for a few months. I'm honestly just disappointed with my past self for not being a Debby Ryan stan earlier. Tumblr girls and gays, where were we? What were we doing? Also in 2013, she forms her own band called The Never Ending, which starts releasing music in 2014. And once again, when you know that Halsey and Debby Ryan lived together for several months, Debby's singing voice in this era makes a lot more sense.
I hate the beach, but I stand in California with my toes in the sand.
In Debby's defense, the cursive singing was all the rage in 2014, and people really did seem to enjoy the music that she made. The band released their EP, and they were supposed to release a full album in 2015, which never ended up coming out. They did release a song in 2016, but that was the last release from the band. And years later, when she spoke about her music career, she said it only happened because I was writing songs, and there were a few that were so personal it felt weird to give them away to someone else. I know a lot of really talented, hardworking musicians, and those people give it everything they have. And if I can't afford to give it everything I have, then it's not doing respect to the industry. Next, we have the Debby Ryan Skai Jackson drama of 2014. These two were co-stars on Jessie, and very important context, Skai was 12 when this all happened, and Debby was 19. But one day, Skai unfollows Debby on Twitter, and there are rumors going around at that time that Skai has made a second sock account just to talk shit about Debby Ryan, I guess, as you do. I have not seen this Twitter account, and I mean, it's possible that 12-year-old Skai Jackson would do something like that, but I also think it's possible that a completely random person could create an account pretending to be Skai Jackson's second account, and a bunch of other 12-year-olds who are fans of Skai Jackson or Debby Ryan would just believe that with no real proof. But regardless, one of Debby Ryan's fans goes to Debby's Tumblr account to give her this warning. Hey, I wish there was a different way to contact you, but Skai's been telling me and others you push and bully her. She made a second Twitter account which is full of hate towards you, and even has her own fans hating on you. She DM'd Blank on Instagram and said you do drugs and are on crack. I have screenshots. She told my older sister the same thing as well. Who knows who else? I can send you the screenshots, tell you more. I feel like you should know this. Debby responds to this and says, I mean, if I was 12, I probably would be insecure about the lead of the show I'm supporting on. Not to mention if she was the concept, a producer, and one of the directors with the most assignment requests. When I hired the cast, I knew they were going to grow into the double digits and then become preteens and teenagers by the end. And that's a rough age, especially in this industry. I would know. I also know I'm proud of the work I've done with my crew to make it the most joyful possible place to grow up. Buying gifts for the kids, arranging group outings to amusement parks, going for meals together, baking, and showering my crew with food trucks and things, elaborate holiday festivities, fun celeb guests, all the things. But I've learned that bitterness is not fixable by roller coasters and treats, and that's a truly sad fact, especially in younger hearts. I won't speak on specific people because it's unprofessional to slander coworkers online, but if I had one wish for every child that's an actor, especially those that tend to be the mouthpiece for parental maliciousness, I'd wish for complete contentment, emotional security, and that they'd somehow find the joy in telling stories. Living the dream is not a job, it's an attitude. Also, I do not have time to do drugs because I work 3 jobs. I do find it interesting that she felt like this was something that needed to be responded to in the first place. I mean, this feels like the kind of message celebrities must get all the time, and like, Skai is a 12-year-old. What do people think? Do they really just want Debby to like dunk on this child? And again, I've heard people accuse Debby Ryan of using illegal substances because, you know.
Can you do it? And I was like, oh. And it was awesome. I was a beast, and I was very proud of myself.
And I don't know her, not gonna seriously speculate on that, but I do think that this is the most conclusive proof I've seen that she hasn't used drugs. Say what you will about crack. It would certainly keep you up to do 3 jobs. Don't do drugs, people. That is not an endorsement, just an observation. Anyways, years pass, and Debby and Skai at some point refollow each other on social media, and the two have never had anything bad to say about the other since that time. In January of 2021, someone commented on Skai's TikTok, "Is it true that you don't like Debby Ryan? I think that's how you spell her name." And Skai responds, "Girl, no. Love her." But people Photoshop Skai's response to say, "Girl, no. Fuck that musty white bitch." Yeah, believe it or not a real thing that Skai said. I do see a lot of versions of the story floating around on the internet, and it gets telephoned into this much more dramatic story than it is, because of course, the story is vague enough to where you can believe whatever you want to believe about Skai or Debby, just depending on how you feel about either of them as a person. But ultimately, we don't know what happened between Debby and Skai, and I at least feel fine with not knowing what 19-year-old Debby had to say about her child co-star. In 2015, Debby and Josh Dun break up, which she confirms in a reply to one of her fans on Twitter, saying single and not trying to mingle. But Josh and Debby were spotted together at a holiday party the next year, and even though there was never an official announcement that they got back together, by 2018 they were very public again, and Josh proposed to Debby in a treehouse in New Zealand. And according to Debby, this was really the only serious relationship she's had, and they seem super happy. Alright, content warning for abusive relationships. You can skip to the next chapter if you don't want to engage with this topic. In 2015, Debby partnered with Mary Kay, of all companies, for the Don't Look Away campaign, which, among other things, raised awareness for the first text-based DV hotline and overall just promoted awareness of how healthy and unhealthy relationships can look like. During this campaign, Debby spoke about her own experience, which, to my knowledge, she had not discussed prior publicly, where a coworker, not someone she dated, developed a very inappropriate attachment to Debby, and it escalated into a controlling and at times violent relationship. She said, "I was in a friendship, kind of a working relationship, and it ended up becoming more and more destructive and getting emotionally and mentally abusive. I was like, I'm a powerful woman and I'm a producer. I never thought that this was happening to me. And it was absolutely happening to me. It was kind of late in the game by the time I realized that this was not healthy. This was not a good situation, and that I was in a relationship that, in nature, was abusive. He chased me out of a room, grabbed me, put me back in the room, and followed me to my car and took my keys. I was like, okay, fine, get in the car, you can come with me. He was like, no, you're going to drive away and leave me here. He ended up grabbing my keys and holding onto my wrist and crawled into the passenger side from my driver's side so I couldn't drive away. She also described instances where he would call her up to 40 times in a night, just trying to see where she was at any particular time. And he became so obsessive with knowing where Debby was at all times that eventually Debby had to book a nearby hotel room for him to stay at so that he could be near her but not in her space. She said that was literally just for sleeping, so we could see each other every day, hours a day, month on month on month. And finally, I was like, all right, I can't do this anymore.
A light bulb go off suddenly and saying, I gotta stop justifying?
Yeah, a phone was thrown at me and it was broken and I was screamed at and cussed and grabbed by the wrist and I was like, you know, he threatens to take a bunch of pills and storms out of my house and I let him leave.
What you say here is really deep in this respect. It's one thing that you're being threatened, but the ultimate threat is, if you leave me, I will
Hurt myself.
Yeah.
That's a huge threat.
It's manipulation, it's control, and it's tactics, but it's also, that is the full version of a person making someone feel like it is their fault.
Right.
And that's what it is.
Don't make me do this to me.
Relationships. Exactly. These sorts of relationships are so based on that. It's so, you know, he broke his phone and then he blamed me for it. And
you're making me do this. Yeah.
Correct. And so, you know, for me, it was like at that point that it was just kind of like, you know, I'm going to let you leave because I'm too emotionally exhausted to do anything else. And it's hard. And, you know, once you walk away, you have to have a really good support team to stay away.
And at that point, she said, I realized I had done everything that I could do. It's not my purpose to sacrifice my own happiness and sacrifice my own mental health so that this guy doesn't OD. I called someone and had someone go and be with him, and I removed myself from the situation and realized he's no longer mine to deal with. Debby removing herself from that situation and then speaking about it publicly, neither of those things are easy to do. And ultimately, like, I'm glad that she was able to bring awareness to this issue and hopefully on some level heal for herself. I do just have to say that I hate that this campaign was with Mary Kay Cosmetics. If you don't know, Mary Kay is a multi-level marketing company based out of Texas, and it's for sure the MLM everyone's mom has like one random product from. The FTC has released reports which found that less than 1% of sellers in a MLM turn a profit. It's a business model that preys upon low-income families, mothers, people who need money to feed their families, and are sold this pipe dream of financial freedom. To be fair to Debby, the overwhelming majority of her promo was just her sharing her story, stating real facts about the issues, hotlines you could use, but it is ultimately a campaign for the company. And the way she did speak about Mary Kay, I just did feel the need to put out that disclaimer.
Living in Texas, growing up in Texas, Mary Kay is a name that's synonymous with, I don't know, for me, it feels like warmth. It feels like, totally. I had, 40 moms, all of my mom's friends, right? And like, my mom was off doing this or doing whatever. I had one or the other willing to pick me up from school or do whatever. And to me, it's about making people feel loved and beautiful and as like naturally as they can, as well as like empowering and strengthening and like entrepreneurship and heck yeah, like make money for yourself, do your thing. Like I love that. So that sort of empowerment in women is something that made me feel safe to be like, wow, I'm really strong right now. And there was a time where I wasn't.
I mean, this was 8 years ago. At this point, maybe her views have changed, but let's support good causes without shady companies. In 2016, she is in a YouTube Red original series. Remember when there were YouTube Red original series? This one was called Sing It and was produced by the Fine Bros, and it was like Brooklyn Nine-Nine if Brooklyn Nine-Nine was about American Idol producers and was incredibly difficult to watch. It was, however, very fun to watch Debby get into a brawl with Alison De Laurentiis from Pretty Little Liars.
It's gonna be okay. Oh my God!
Also in 2016, Debby is arrested after hitting a Mercedes with her car and blowing a 0.11 blood alcohol level. Because the person in the Mercedes initially said that they were injured, Debby was actually charged with a felony, although this was later reduced to a misdemeanor because we don't know how that person was injured or to what extent, but apparently it was not serious, and the damage to the car was not extreme, and she was barely over the legal limit. Still bad, don't do that, but luckily for everybody involved, there was not life-altering consequences. She did issue an apology on Twitter saying, "Over the last few days, I've had a chance to think about my actions, and I wish I had used better judgment. I recognize that I am a role model, and I've always worked hard to set a good example for my millions of fans, and I'm sorry to disappoint everyone." But of course, at the end of the day, she's still a rich celebrity. She gets out on a $100K bail, eventually pleads no contest, gets 3 years of probation, and she has to pay for the damages to the Mercedes and participate in a 3-month DUI program. In 2017, she is in the movie Riptide, which apparently did not do super well in America, but had decent success in Australia, I guess because it was filmed there. Australians, let me know. Do you all gather around and watch this Debby Ryan movie together, and can I come next time? I didn't actually watch it, but I did really like the trailer because the way it's edited, it looks like Debby Ryan gets canceled online because she fell down the stairs, and so she decides to drop everything and go off the grid in Australia.
Why won't you listen to me? You think I wouldn't notice plane tickets?
I am also perpetually one fall away from dropping everything and moving theirs, never to be seen again. So I felt very seen by this premise. 2018 is the year we see her in probably her most infamous project, Insatiable. First of all, before we get into the details of the show, you want to know where she filmed it? Atlanta. You know who else lived in Atlanta? Me. I feel like one of these days I'm going to turn around and she'll just be right behind me. The trailer for Insatiable went viral after it showed Debby in a very unconvincing fat suit, suddenly losing 70 pounds and becoming hot. And just based on that trailer, there was a huge petition to cancel the show, with critics saying that the show promoted body shaming and the harmful ideas that weight loss instantly makes someone's life better. Because it got that strong reaction, it also ended up getting that really cool audience who just want to watch it because they really want to own those liberal snowflakes who want to cancel it. But the showrunner and the actors emphasized that the trailer was misleading and this was a satire on body shaming and was based to an unclear extent on the showrunner Lauren Gus's own struggles with binge eating as a teenager. I watched a lot of interviews about the show, read a ton of recaps, and watched 6 episodes of it. I stopped after 6 episodes because I could not watch the show for one more second, even at 1.5 speed. I will give the show credit in that the approach to Patty, Debbie's character, her weight loss, and her eating disorder is slightly more nuanced than the trailer suggested. Debbie's character does discover throughout the season that even though she lost weight, she still deals with insecurity. She relapses with her ED. She learns that being thin doesn't solve all of your problems. So to that extent, the criticism of the trailer wasn't necessarily reflective of the show's message. That does not mean that I think the show is good, and I do not think it's a positive representation for eating disorders, nor do I think it's as nice to fat people as the show thinks that it is. Even though the showrunner said very explicitly that the fat jokes are meant to be like villainized through the narrative, there are plenty of jokes about Patty's weight and food thrown in there by the good characters too, and those jokes are never challenged. Because this is a satire, the idea is supposed to be, well, everyone's bad, so that's why they say bad things, which, fine, that's valid, but again, that only works if those comments are actually challenged or reflected upon or parodied in some way. You can't just say, oh, Patty would only ever run for bacon, have no reaction to that line, and expect people to get that it's satire. But the show isn't just bad because of that. It's a satire, which means it's all of the worst elements of a Ryan Murphy show with none of the charm. For instance, there's a running joke where the other lead character, Bob, is falsely accused of assaulting a teenage girl, and it's like a running gag that he keeps hanging out with teenage pageant girls, but he's innocent, haha. It's especially strange to me because you know who else was on this show? Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano was one of the first to bring back the hashtag #MeToo that started a huge conversation about the prevalence of SA and how victims aren't believed in 2018. And so I have to believe that this running bit is meant to be a commentary on something, but I have no idea what it's actually trying to say, how it's helpful, or even how it's funny. There's another bit where these characters are joking about bisexuality not being real and it just being a gateway to being gay. And again, their view is never challenged by the narrative. They just say a bunch of biphobic jokes and the show moves on. But the showrunner herself is openly bisexual. So like, how was making a bunch of cliche jokes about bisexuality, satirizing, making a commentary on that worldview? There's also a lesbian character whose whole shtick is constantly hitting on her straight friend, Patty, which, again, I feel like they wanted this to be positive representation, and it just doesn't come across that way. Another strange aspect of this show that really doesn't get talked about enough is its source material. The character of Bob is based on the real-life person Bill Alverson. Alverson is an Alabama attorney who moonlights as a pageant coach in his off hours. He had a feature story in the New York Times in 2014. He actually landed a season of a TLC show based on his life.
My daughter Blanche was a top collegiate Division I basketball player. Blanche was the first Auburn athlete that's ever been a homecoming queen. And let me tell you, it was all about me when I walked across that field, too.
Oh, yes, it was.
God almighty, I didn't realize it till people said, could you puff your chest out anymore?
Alverson is an executive producer on this project, and I just have to wonder, did the showrunners read the 2014 article from the New York Times that made him famous? Because it does not paint him as a quirky sitcom protagonist to me. That's fine because you're not a chunker. If you had a weight problem, I'd say you had to lay off all the croissants. To a 10-year-old dreaming of a baking career. Within 5 minutes of meeting Brianna Sturgis, another aspiring Miss Mississippi, he told her to lose the Ebonics. She shyly told Alverson that she hoped to be the first African-American woman to graduate from Delta State University's commercial aviation program. Her hero, Bessie Coleman, who in 1921 became the first black woman to earn a pilot's license. That is your story to tell, and it's awesome, Alverson said. But worried that a jury might not know Coleman, he suggested that she mention Amelia Earhart, too. This is not Miss Black Mississippi, and if the judges aren't allied with you, you're stuck. Then he regarded her for a long silent moment. Your hair looks like... Sturgis's mother, Jenny, nodded. But that smile? Don't cover your mouth. You're blessed. You light up a room with that smile, darling. I mean, I wouldn't be lining up to make a show with this guy after reading this article. But honestly, even if you really want to stick it to the woke mob by watching this show, it's not good. In 2019, Debbie started her podcast, There You Are, and she hasn't made another episode since 2021, but y'all, I really wish that she would. Unfortunately, most of the first season is her talking with her Insatiable cast about Insatiable, and I can't. But then on the second season, she had Alison Brie on. She talked more about just random topics. I wish she'd kept it up because I've watched a lot of Debby Ryan videos at this point, and y'all, she could take my job. I love watching her talk about whatever.
I realized that when you cry with burgundy mascara and crimson eyeliner on, that it looks like you're crying blood, which is, I wish I could say was a character choice for playing a vampire, but truly, it's also a sweet flex on your enemies. My husband, who, there's no better way to say it, is an international rock star, has a show tonight. And so I want to go to that show and I want to scream my face off. So this is how I amp it up. We take it from day to night.
Once again, I think Debbie is underappreciated. Her voice sounds like Miley Cyrus and Selena Gomez combined, and I genuinely enjoyed listening to podcasts with her on it, even the Dax Shepard podcast. She was worth listening to Dax Shepard for 2 hours, y'all. Okay, so when I'm doing my celebrity deep dives, one of my favorite things to do is just search their name and scroll way too far down the search results to where you get all of the random videos with 400 views from a 2009 show. That's where the good stuff is. On one of these searches, I found these Debby Ryan Nintendo promos that she clearly filmed in the pandemic, and this is also most definitely a re-upload from a fan since these only have 200 views and it's not Debbie's official account. But I also could not find the original posts anywhere online, and y'all just have to see them.
What you might not be hip to is how key it can be to wake up by not only fueling your body, but also your mind, your competitive edge, and your cart. With Nintendo's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's right.
This video is a sponsored and approved ad by Nintendo.
Hi, I'm TV's Debby Ryan, and I'm here making this internet video to talk to you about some of the things that I've been thinking. And something else I've been getting pretty into. And that's not just because...
This video is a sponsored and approved ad by Nintendo.
I think we can all agree it's been a pretty wild year. And inspiration and motivation feel like they're in short supply. There has also been a lot of intentionality surrounding our patterns and our energy, where it comes from, where it goes, and how it's affected. So here are a few things that I found that get me out of bed and into the game. Number 1, pet an animal. There are stats, I don't know them, but there are stats that petting an animal raises endorphins. So if you can, pet an animal.
Like, see, Debby Ryan is funny. I mean, the second camera angle for dramatic effect, does it get better than that? So if Debbie ever wanted to be incredibly underwhelmed by my Animal Crossing island, she is more than welcome. Also in 2020, her Radio Rebel performance was everywhere on TikTok. Poot was out, Radio Rebel was in, and Debbie saw the demand and she delivered. I love how that's the last thing she's posted on TikTok. It's been 3 years and she was like, that's all I need to do. And she's correct. The app has never recovered. On May 21st, 2020, Vogue published a spread of Debbie and Josh's secret wedding that they had had on New Year's Eve of 2019. You'll remember that they got engaged in 2018 and apparently they planned this wedding in 28 days, which the Vogue article paints as like, whoa, that's crazy. But correct me if I'm wrong, I just feel like if you're rich and famous, it's pretty easy to put together a last-minute major event like that. Like, they had a lot of help, right? Also, in November of 2019, I guess when they started planning, Josh Dun tweeted Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and invited him to their wedding. And Dwayne just gave the most politician response. Thanks, brother, and congrats. I can't make it, but remember the most important 5 words. Yes, honey, you are right. Trust me. Hashtag tattooed Yoda. Josh didn't even say the date in this tweet, and The Rock was like, I'm busy. Trust me. This is even funnier when you see that this is not the first time Josh has tweeted The Rock. In 2015, he asked The Rock for facial hair advice, and once again, Dwayne delivered. Now, I could have sworn when I was researching this video, I saw pictures of like someone had their phone and put The Rock's face on it and had it on a church pew at their wedding. But then I could not find pictures of that in my notes. I guess I hadn't saved it anywhere. Like, I couldn't find it again. So maybe that didn't happen. Let me know if I imagined that. But The Rock did make an appearance at their 6-month wedding anniversary in the form of a prayer candle. Truly blessed. Also in 2020, she was in a horror movie called Horse Girl, which when I heard that, I was like, oh, this ought to make for some good cynical YouTube commentary. But it actually seems like an interesting psychological horror movie about a socially awkward woman with mental health issues going through a crisis, which from that description, it could be really interesting or just wildly distasteful. And I can't say which one it is because horror movies scare me. And I need someone who has watched it to let me know, is it too scary for me to watch? And if it's not, then I'll watch it, maybe, or maybe not. Debbie and Alison Brie were also in this movie called Spin Me Round together, which does not look good. But it has the most stacked cast. Aubrey Plaza, Alison Brie, Debby Ryan, Molly Shannon, Zach Woods, and Fred Armisen all in like one B-tier dark romantic comedy. It sounds great to me. Another movie that Debby Ryan will be in, and I probably will watch even though it's supposed to be scary, is Howdy Neighbor. This is going to be a queer horror movie with a bunch of former Disney actors. I mean, conceptually, I'm all about that. Finally, the last thing that we're talking about, actually the reason I decided to make this video. This year in 2023, Debby Ryan and Josh Dunn's home was featured on Architectural Digest. First of all, she serves with the classic Debby Ryan lip bite. Second, their house is sick. I don't know why, but I got so excited by their filtered water station in their bedroom. Like, eat the rich, but also why don't all rich people have that in their bedroom? But the part everyone could not get enough of was their custom sculpture of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
So we have to show you this. So as we started getting into art, we realized that like a sweet flex when you buy an adult home is to have like a bust. His brother, Jordan, who's one of our best friends, his girlfriend is a really talented sculptor out of Germany, and we had the opportunity to commission a bust. And there was only one option for us. Mr. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
And he's kind of just a guiding light.
A beacon of nobility.
And again, when you learn just how long Debby Ryan and Josh Dun have been publicly professing their love for The Rock, it just makes the sculpture even better. And how have they not met at this point, right? Like, The Rock was in a couple Disney projects at the same time Debby was working there. Like, were they not at the same premieres at least once? Is the statue not enough to get his attention? I'm rooting for you, Debby. I really am. That brings us up to today. Now, this is by no means the craziest celebrity arc I've covered, but honestly, I think that's a good thing. These don't always have to be reveling in people's horrifically controversial moments or the really awful things that they went through all the time. You know, like any person, I don't love everything Debby Ryan has ever said or done, but I really like her, and I stand by my earlier statements that she is severely underrated, and she's hilarious, and I hope she meets The Rock someday. Thank you for sticking around and watching this, and also thank you so much to everyone who watched my Bad Cinderella video. I honestly did not expect that many people to watch it because I don't know how much my audience would really be into musical theater, but I'm glad y'all found that story as fascinating as I do. And I have some really good topics that I'm working on for the next couple of months, so I'm just really excited for how things have been going lately. And if you like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.
Hit the music. Yo, drop that. Drop it now. You guys ready?
Y'all know when the flow go. Young B in the ROC. OG, big homie, the one and only. Big bony, but the pockets are fat like Tony.